As a creative professional working with clients and peers, I often find myself in a loop, constantly typing out feedback on multiple devices and tools. Discovering Pacto has allowed me to eliminate typed feedback and instantly send a recorded video with my action items. With Pacto, I can easily review videos, websites, images, 3D files, and audio files. My feedback can then be sent as a link with clear action items faster than any other tool out there. Pacto has changed my daily lifestyle. I now have more time than ever to do what I love most.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Damian Borba, and I'm the founder of Pacto. We're doing these live streams every week, speaking with brilliant minds on creativity, how the brain works, how AI is impacting all their work. And today I'm very happy to welcome our guest, Wojtek Jezowski. Hi, Wojtek.
Hey,
How are you? Who
hi.
are you? Can you introduce
Oh, how you
yourself?
doing? Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm a creative director. I'm a bit of a founder myself. I have a creative agency for over 15 years. Hence the hair loss and the gray things. Yeah, but I started as a video director, film director, and kind of moved from there, doing a lot of stuff in production, post production world. um my main focus is kind of our agency's focus is B2B tech, and that's where we kind of focus. We work with mostly American clients, but basically anybody that says hello. We try to do that, and we're big fans because most of us came from television and the cinema industry, and and stuff like that. We kind of have this internal drive, and I don't want to say passion because it's overused, but we get the power of storytelling, we get the power of emotion, and we're kind of you know throwing ourselves out here in the B2B tech world, where not a lot of people have heard about that, let alone understand it and appreciate it.
That's awesome. Where are you based and how did you get here? What's your kind of short story of your career?
We were based in Poland, in Warsaw. That's where I grew up. I mean, I live here for the past 20 years. I grew up in Chicago,
Oh,
back in
nice.
the day. And I kind of, wanted to help, film was the thing, for me. That was my kind of passion and hobby for a long time, doing stupid amateur videos and this dream of making Star Wars and having that, Indiana Jones, Star Wars. A lot of filmmakers start the same way.
That's
They end
amazing.
up poorly, unfortunately, but not all of them. Not all of them. We have some very good examples of people who made it, but as in sports or any industry, we love the 1% of those people who are just amazing, but there's a lot of people that are as good, as talented. They just don't have that either self-confidence, or they weren't lucky, or something happened, but that doesn't mean that they aren't good. And there's a lot of work to go around. So hence the industry is pretty big, and
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people are afraid of this AI thing, man. That's the
That's
thing.
so that's so true. And you write on LinkedIn too. Like that's how we
Yeah,
connected. I think we saw
yeah.
an amazing post about your work there. Like, can you tell a little bit about that work that you do, like the posts and the
Oh,
thinking
that
behind
I
it?
I don't know which post that was. I actually started finally after 2 years. I made myself and started doing videos, and talking and doing TikToks. And yeah, LinkedIn has been a let's say a key strategy point for me for a long time. That's where the people to talk to are in the
Nice.
in the B2B space, in the tech space, more and more in the creative space. Um, so yeah, I talk mostly about, or I try to talk about creative. I try to showcase what I believe are the best videos, or well, sometimes what are the worst videos, but mostly the best videos of the year, the past, or the, I don't know, the best explainer video of all time, or the best B2B video, or something like that. And I try to educate people.
That's awesome.
It sounds, I don't want to say boring, but everybody says educate. Education. That's the marketing strategy. Um, at first it feels weird because you don't feel that you have anything of value to share. But after a while, when you connect with people, and I think that's what, social media and social platforms are great for. When you start to have that conversation, you see that what you're saying is resonates with somebody, and hey, let me do more, and that's why I'm here, I think.
That's so true. Yeah, I feel like sharing really feeds our like soul, right? Like we like teaching, at least for me, like I did a lot of teaching when I was younger. And that was the best. Like I was not making a lot of money, but feeling that you were responsible for that other person to kind of evolve and take another step. That's amazing. Like that
Yeah,
was true fulfillment. So teaching was amazing
yeah,
and sharing was amazing. And I feel like today the more you share, the more you gain, right? Like
yeah.
you meet new people, you get more exposure, more opportunities. We're having a very tough time with I think every new company has that tough time with mind share, like when you have to do something and then having to
Yeah.
we hope that people have Pacto in their minds, like they go, oh, like let's use Pacto for let me record my screen, let me test this new idea on a website, let me review this video. But that mind share, like the opportunity to be visible is so hard nowadays. So it's like
Mm.
it's a big challenge. Do you have any thoughts on how you can be more visible
Yeah,
as a company
that's
or
a
as an author or something?
yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest, at this disclaimer, at this moment, I'm not walking the talk currently. I'm trying to. I know how to help other people do that.
Mm.
I'm struggling with it because I'm a shy person by nature, and I'd never wanted to be in front of the camera. I want to be behind the camera. But now, to get leads, to get work, to get some awareness, you have to be in front of the camera. And all right, let's do it. But I think the biggest thing we have to understand is everybody's doing something, and everybody's there, and everybody's trying to be that 1%. And I think this is the most difficult time in the history to break through. Um, now everybody has a film camera in their pocket, and they can do anything. And it's going to be a very similar, I think, connection to AI. Now that anybody can do everything, you have to figure out how to make that thing that counts, how to make that thing that connects. And I saw somebody, some AI bro saying, finding this video of a Star Wars fan video made in AI. And yeah, it looks slick, it looks, but there's like, I stopped watching after 3 seconds because there's nothing interesting. It was just people, how it is. And it doesn't matter if it's AI or if it's you're filming. If you don't know how to tell a story, and most people don't know, whatever tool you use, if AI, 3D animation, or video, or puppets, they're not gonna cut it. And and I still think that matters at some level. I hope I won't be wrong in the near future, with that.
That's so true. Yeah, I feel like the dynamic changed a lot in storytelling. Even we used to hide the peak of the story to like a very
Mm,
specific moment, but now the attention span is so short that I'm learning. Like I was with Red Bull the other like a couple months ago, and they were sharing that the best performing videos now are the ones that have that hook in 1 or 2 seconds. So
Yeah.
you almost like you show everything and then you
Yeah.
develop, because it's like, hey,
But you know
watch
what?
me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think there's a lot of truth to that, and sure, that works. And everybody says the attention spans are lowering. There's a great study I don't remember. I did a presentation about it 2 years ago, where they actually show that on YouTube videos there is a drop off of attention after first couple of seconds and a couple of minutes, but after it drops off significantly at around the 7th minute, it stays for 10 minutes at the same level, right?
Right.
So what does that mean? That means that for a lot of casual viewers, like we do on TikTok, you sit on the toilet and you just kind of scroll. Yeah, sure. The first second, when you have the hook in the first second, that's going to make you stop the video and watch. However, when you're in a different mode of consuming content, and that's what I talk to a lot of clients and marketers about, is the way we consume content changes throughout the day, throughout the buyer's journey for B2B, or throughout anywhere, right? So we can sit on the toilet and scroll, and that's where the short attention span gets the thing. But then when you change and you say, oh, I want to watch a video and learn something or have fun with, or I'm going to I mean, there are, Mr. Beats video aren't 10 seconds short.
Yeah.
They can be an hour long and you watch it, right? Or there's an amazing, Veritasum, shout out to that guy who makes amazing, engaging videos about physics, which I
Oh yeah, I
kind of
remember
didn't. Yeah.
yeah, I remember that. My
And
kids
and
love
you
it.
can, yeah, and you can watch it like for a very, very long time. And sure, it still has a similar framework of a hook and something, but they're not made for people skipping and watching.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of companies or clients or people hear about that. Oh, our attention spans are shortening, and they want to do everything for that. And I think that's a mistake, because you should do for both. You should do for the place and the way we consume content, where that short is how we do it, and for that long as well, where we want to dig into it, where we want to know something, where we want to be educated, when we want to be inspired, when we want to something happen, right? So more value than just a lull, right? And again, that's talking the talk. Walking the walk is different. It is, because it's a lot of effort to do that, right? And if you're a lonely creative starting out, when you look at the board of what you should be doing, and how, and in what channels, and how many times a day, it can be super overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
But I think the best way to do that is to just start narrow and kind of build up to it. Get into the habit of thinking about a story. Get into a habit of editing. Get into a habit of filming. And I don't know. I think that's the way to start.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, this is really interesting to hear. As a creator now, as a creative person now, I think you need to think about the content, the quality of the
Mm.
content, quality of the story, but you can also you also have to spend a lot of energy on distribution planning, right? You
Hmm.
have to say like,
Yeah.
how I'm gonna share this, like what's the hook, So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
this extra layer of work that needs to take place in this new creative area because of all the
Yeah.
noise that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
different. It's a special time. All right, so talking about creativity in the era of AI, the
Yeah.
big topic of today's discussion. Um, we at Pacto, we truly believe, and this is not everyone agrees, but we truly
Mhm.
believe that that initial spark of an idea of something that doesn't exist yet, of a future that doesn't exist yet, is uniquely human. And
Mhm.
AI will never be able to have that spark. It can react to things, but you
Mhm.
will never have that initial like idea that comes out of nowhere. What's your thinking about that? Is
So
creativity uniquely human?
So I think there's a lot of to unpack here. Uh, I don't want to say never, because nothing ever gets deleted on the internet, and 30 years from now some guy is going to find this video and say, haha, see. So don't deal with absolute, like the Jedi say. So first things first, I think we're in an AI bubble for sure, right? And we're using the word AI very generously to something that is large language model, right? Or something of a sort, which is, it's creating content based on statistics of a lot of it, like an immense amount of data, right? So that's first.
Mm-hmm.
And in that context, sure, that the only way it generates ideas or something is it reworks that original data, right? So in this world, in this system, um, it's just remixing, right? But then again, you can say that for some artists, remixing is an art form of itself. And when I work with AI, for example, to brainstorm ideas, once every 100 replies, that's I feel that, oh, this is interesting, right? And I start from that, and I kind of dig into it, and then I change it in my mind. But that little spark is there, but it's not something entirely new. It's a different way of looking at things. But is creativity, that spark, inherently human? For now it is, right? For now it is. And I think there's no question about it. Currently, when you look at how this AI works, it's not sentient. It's not intelligence. It's just stats. It's just a lot of statistics and working on a lot of data. Probably in the future, that's going to change, and this conversation will be will be obsolete in a sense. Yeah, yeah.
No, that's really good. And we spoke with one scientist in our first episode, and she was explaining the three networks that we have in our brain. One is a very conscious network
Mhm.
that's here, we're talking, we're aware of things. There's a second network, unconscious network, where our brain is running nonstop simulations. So we don't
Mhm.
know it's happening, but it's just running like a lot of experiments, a lot
Mhm.
of simulations of potential scenarios based in my experience, based in my past things that I did. And then there's a third layer, which also unconscious, that picks ideas of like these simulations. So like, oh, this is an interesting simulation, and it brings to your conscious
Mhm.
part, and that part is unconscious. So that when you have that light bulb moment, like, oh, I have an idea, it's like when that network just picked one thing that made sense to you. And
Yeah.
I can see AI doing the simulations now. You can tell it to run a
Yeah.
lot of simulations, but there's no kind of network to pull the ones. It's you, right? Like it's almost like you have your processing unit in your brain,
Mhm.
but now you have a
Sure.
separate processing unit outside of your brain to run simulations, right? And then you pick the ones you want.
Yeah, that is helpful, and I found it helpful for some tasks, for some projects. Um, like the brainstorming, that's a cool thing, and sometimes there's something I can work off of, for example. What I like to do, and where I find the best way, the best quality that I get, is when I make very, very specific, almost genre requests, right? So I'm doing a series of videos for a virtual studio, a demo, right? And we're showing different types of films and movies and commercials that you can make on that virtual studio. So we wanted to have different genres, right? So once I creatively imagine and I write a treatment that's very detailed about what's happening and what's the vibe and what they're doing and how they're dressed and so on, asking chat, for example, to give me a couple of ideas of what they might be saying in that very tight specific context, and saying, hey, make it that the guy sounds more like Han Solo, and suddenly genius. But again, chat is revamping a lot of data and mix it and remixing concepts, remixing pop culture, and and when you're doing that, that's great. That's very helpful. That's amazing stuff.
That's amazing. What's your process today? Like you used to have a creative process before AI. Now you have a creative process in the AI era. One thing that I see a lot of people saying is that building for the AI world is different because you have to experiment and you don't have a lot of control over the outcome, right? It's almost like you're sculpting something. It seems like, and some people told us that the strategy is starting with a very simple prompt, very
Mhm.
simple. So you know what the generic output will be, and then you start building from it. But if you have a very specific thing in your mind and you try to have AI do that, you get very frustrated because it's not very. What's your
It's
process?
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it differs. I mean, there are some uh, my process. Oh my God, I don't know if there's a process. I mean, every creative has a different process, and I recently stumbled upon, it's not a process, but questions that you ask yourself when you're creating something, an ad, right? And I think it's from some guidebook or some website by Mischief. Mischief is one of the best creative agencies right now in the world. They're from the States somewhere.
Mm.
But one of those questions is like, what would you do if you weren't afraid, right? And so you're trying, for example, to create an ad, and you're throwing ideas around. And as a human being, you're grading them somehow. No, that's not going to work, or no, the client's not going to buy that, or that's too crazy. Like, and then you open yourself up with this, question: what would you do if you weren't afraid? And okay, so let's do something stupid. Or um, what would you do that would make your competition mad, or your enemies mad? Like there are a couple of, so there are like, there's that's not a framework, but there are some questions when you're stuck or when you're working on something that help you dig deeper into that creativity. Now, I haven't. That's a good idea. I haven't used those questions with chat. Um, but like you said, I mean, there's a lot of things that are frustrating. Um, um, I think especially the simple ones. I think that especially the ones where you really want to replicate the real world, when you want it to be flawless, where you want it to be realistic. And it's very similar with animations. It's even in cinematography, where you want just to make the sun shine through the door, through the window, and make it look like there's this real sun, and not the middle of the night, right? Making those natural looks is the most difficult thing
Yeah.
in any space. In AI also, because you have a reference point, right? Like when you're working in mid journey and you're trying to create something that's realistic, that doesn't have that uncanny valley feel, it's going to be very difficult, and you have to be generating a lot of content to be able to find the one that you like, and then you refine it and you refine it, and you're doing that kind of neural network thing that you're basically doing, evolution with Darwin, like, oh, this one, this one,
Mhm.
this one, and it learns a bit, and hopefully you get something that's really cool. But when you want to do something crazy with neon lights and super science fiction, and suddenly it just wow, right? Suddenly it just wow. It's easier, and I don't know why. I think in a sense because we psychologically know that's kind of fake, right? And so we don't have a reference point to it. So to us, it looks kind of okay.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, let's say 5 years ago, when we saw this super realistic, amazing image with all these effects. We were like, "Oh my God, this is work that probably took days, if not weeks, if not months in
Mhm.
Photoshop, right, to get to it." now that AI can almost get the same look and feel with realistic cinematography, like all that, uh, our human perception changed. So that doesn't impress us. That doesn't
Yeah.
impress us anymore, right? Why is it like why the reference point, as you said, the quality expectation now change? Like it's the same output, but now we kind of know it's coming from AI, and then it's not that pretty anymore. But
I
it's crazy, yeah.
I don't know. I think it has to do with the way we've grown up. I mean, I've grown up on Nintendo and Mario Brothers and 8-bit and some very wonky videos and films. The next generation, was on, I don't know, Super Nintendo or PlayStation, stuff like that. So each generation has a different reference point, and I see memes all the time and TikToks saying, sorry, saying like, oh, let's show 3D effects from 2004 versus 3D effects in the latest Avengers movie or Marvel movie, and it's like, that was incredible, right? Back 20
Yes.
years ago. Why is that? And there's a lot of different things. It's because, well, there was no reference point and we remember it great, so it feels right. But because on a business side, there's a huge amount of money being thrown into 3D back then. Right now, everybody's trying to find the cheapest solution. I mean, that's the kind of Hollywood studio system, right? That
Yeah.
they find the lowest person who's going to do it for the lowest amount of money, and they give him unrealistic deadlines. Hence the quality shift. And I don't know if that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. But we get accustomed to things. When we remember video games from our childhood, to us they're super realistic, right? And when you watch them now, they're like, oh my god, that's like, is that a mushroom? Like, how is that a thing? But to us back then, that was the state of the art. Tekken or Virtual Fighter, that was like, oh wow, right? And it's like low poly stuff right now. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's going to change. I mean, AI has certainly the thing going for it, that it's like evolving in a rapid pace. It's every month there's a different generation, and everybody's trying to beat the other competition with new video things. And Google had that V2 thing, and everybody was waiting, but it was in beta, so it wasn't available. And then the Chinese threw out something else, so everybody forgot about that Google thing. I mean, we're living in a kind of like a wild west thing of the
Yeah.
early 90s, where we were all working. When you wanted to install a game and play a game on your PC, you had to go into MS-DOS and kind of type commands in. And right now you just click and it works, right? So that's another going to be, going to another probably question, what's going to happen with AI when AI is going to be when it's going to have a real impact on the industry. I think it's then when we don't have to prompt, right? When we don't have to prompt, but we have a UI system that actually lets you, with the click of a mouse, do what you want and change this eye, make this brow higher, and not just prompt, right? Because prompting, when you look at it, it's inefficient. You just throw words at it and you hope for the best, basically, right?
That's a very, very good point. That leads to the next question. We know as a creative director, you have your ideas, you have some sort of like vision of, oh, I want this to look like that, to
Mhm.
feel like that. And then you
Yeah.
have your team, you have your production team, your artists, everyone working together to build that. But why is it so hard to transfer your thought, like that idea, to others? Like why, for example, people using text to explain
Yeah.
things, like when you go to a feedback session, it's almost like you're always frustrated, right? Because, oh, that's not what I
Yeah.
meant, like this, like, why is that, why a creative expression is so hard?
I think us creatives, if I may say so, think everybody else is a bunch of idiots. Like, that's the first thing, that they don't know, and you're frustrated with. And when you come to think of it, it's like you have all those ideas in your head, and you like have it. And I think the same frustration that you have with trying to do something in Midjourney, for example, like, you know how it looks like, but you can't get it exactly right, right? However the wording you do, and I'm the 10-page prompt or a one, like, it doesn't matter, right? There's something just not going on. And I think that's just how it works. I mean, you're never gonna have somebody who understands you and can read your mind. And so there's a lot of frustrated creatives and directors, hence people yelling and screaming and throwing things. And sure, I'm guilty of that a couple times as well, and I feel bad, and I apologize, and especially if you're under pressure, if it's budget limit or time limit,
which
and
is
you're
always
over,
the case,
which
right?
is always the case. And the client, and it's shit, that work is shit, but you have no other option. You have to send it to the client. The client gets pissed off you and screams at you because your work is shit, and it's shit. How can you there's a lot. It's very, very layered, and it's very complicated. And I think the best way to talk with people is to sit them next to you with a paper and a pen and actually fucking draw it. I think that I've never had a problem where I've had a person sitting next to me and we're discussing the creative that I had in my mind, and they, after a while, they got it, right? Versus doing it online, over Zoom, over Teams, that takes like eight times longer, like however
Yeah,
you
and
do
like
it.
I see so many people still like typing comments. Like, you go to Frame.io, you go to Figma, you go to all these places, and you type your thinking.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
that's horrible. Like, that text doesn't carry all the emotion, all the clarity, all the details,
Well,
right? No
if you
matter how
swear, it does. If you use swear words, it does carry emotion
Mm.
very well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Another question that I have here, there's a lot of fear out there, especially in the creative industry, where agencies are doing more, especially because the value is now shifting, right? In the
Mhm.
beginning, I would say a couple of years ago, the financial value for agencies and all these creative companies, it came from production. Like, how many banners you can do, how many like variations of this thing you can do. Like, there's a lot
Mhm.
of money in the production. But now AI can do a lot of that work, right? It's gonna
Yeah.
make that cheaper and cheaper. So that makes the creation, the creativity more valuable. So the financial value moves from production to creation. Um, what do you think of that? Like, is it true?
So I
Creation
think what
is
you're
more
saying,
valuable than ever?
I think what you're saying is, I'm not going to agree with it 100%. What you're saying is true for some agencies, right? Some agencies who had a very specific model. These types of agencies usually call themselves digital agencies, right? They do banners, they do all that crap. On the flip side, you have these marketing agencies, the let's say old school legacy marketing agencies that you have, McCann or whatever. Their main For years, their main job was not producing the content; it was selling the idea and then buying the media. That was
Mm-hmm.
the shit. That was where they made the big bucks, the media buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then it got, mixed around. Media agencies kind of took that piece of the pie from them. So what they're left with is creativity, is strategy creation, brand, strategy, and research and customer research, right? These are, I think, the biggest pillars, where creativity is very much the product that gets to be visible at the end, but there's a lot of work, like strategy wise and stuff like that. And So we have these two kind of models, and probably there are more, but let's just focus on these two for now, right? So sure, the model where you make the money on producing a lot of cheap content, you're gonna get screwed with AI for sure. I mean, it's maybe not
It's
right
very true.
now. Yeah, I mean, maybe not at this minute. Maybe if for some instances, AI is not still, it doesn't produce the best results. But it's gonna be quicker. I mean, it's gonna evolve into a better small content generator than not, right? So I think they're first on the line, more or less. And I think a lot of agencies are feeling that they're shifting. They're inviting AI into their workflows. What kind of impact it has on the overall bottom line, I have no idea. But even the big ones, they're embracing AI in some way. It's used great for ideation, for key visuals, creating examples of of what you have in your head, like we talked about, showing the client how it might look like in the end without actually spending the money to do it. That's for creatives the biggest problem ever, right? Usually AI helps with that. So a lot of the storyboard artists and visual artists, they're one of the ones that are getting the boot very quickly. But and yeah, and I think that the big agencies or even the smaller agencies are realizing that some clients, they don't care if it's AI or if it's not. And if they don't care if it's not, why should we pay another production house to produce it where we can do it in
Yeah.
AI and they don't care? Again, it's not, AI is not yet ready to be that easily and seamlessly used to create video ads or ads or video content. There are some instances where they do that and it looks amazing, and sometimes it looks like crap. Right? It depends on the client, and it also depends. And I think this is going to be. I'm guessing the next question you're going to ask is, so what can we do as creatives? And so I
Yeah,
just
that's
thought of it.
fair.
I mean, it's not me, but I probably read it somewhere. Is that to be able to work with AI? Sure, prompt engineer, whatever, you need somebody to input something. That's whatever, right? That's a technical job in a sense, a bit. But the real creative will be the person who's deciding if whatever AI generated is good or not, right?
Like
Because
the taste validator kind of.
exactly, who's going to say that this is right, right? Like, how can a company fire a creative agency because we have IA, we're going to do our own stuff, and I don't know, the CEO is gonna, the same CEO who said, why do we need to spend so much money on a video? I have an iPhone, I can film it. And they're gonna say that this is good, and they're gonna, show it to the world, and it's not gonna work, for example. Like, taste is gonna be important, being able to articulate why this is bad and this is good, right? Why we should go down this path. What we should change. I think that's going to be very important. I don't think there's going to be a lot of job offers for that, but I mean, the ones that will be very important and very powerful and lucrative. Yeah.
That's awesome. We're getting to the end here. Like, this is an amazing discussion, but one question that I have is, where do you see creativity in 5 years, and even like 10 years from now, given the AI being here now?
I don't know. I'm waiting for the bubble to kind of like the board monkey things to happen to AI a bit. There's this rule or chart of technological adoption that everybody's very hyped. then it's gonna kind of come down, and where we kind of level off, then that's when it's gonna bring the actual value. So I'm hoping that there's going to be some very crazy changes, and that people we're going to finally understand how to do it. I'm hoping to get AI tools that feel like Photoshop, that feel like Premiere, that feel like tools for creating rather than coding. Right? That would be amazing.
More free form. Yeah.
Yeah, more, point and click kind of stuff for idiots. I mean, why. We're kind of idiots. I mean, we're not, we're creatives. We're not going to code. We're not going to do things. Most of us anyway. I mean, I'm not going to, years ago, you wanted to do something amazing. You had to learn how to do it in a very complicated 3D modeling software. And it was like, and it took time. Yeah, you can do it with AI, but it's not going to be exactly how you want it. So I think I'd love to see more very granular control over whatever AI is doing, and that's when it's going to be a game changer. When it's when we have some industry standard tools with AI. But like in general creativity, I have no idea. I mean, for the ad industry, for the marketing industry, there's going to be a lot of shakeup, I think. But in the content production side, I think the creativity, the strategy, the insights, there are tools, AI tools that help with that. But I think that's where people will still thrive. Not all of them, but most of them, probably. But in 10 years, sure, somebody's going to say that it's an amazing idea that you could be, generating your own Netflix movie on the spot. Like, you want this, and it's going to throw out there. but why? Like, why would you,
That's funny. No,
like
that's
if
really
you,
interesting.
I think that if Netflix does do that, and it gives you the AI to generate a bingeable season, whatever you prefer it to be, after the first 3 tries, if you see it's shit, you're not going to touch it again. And that can be that can be also a problem if we do get too much accustomed to AI. And I don't know, there's a solar flare and the electricity goes out, and like everybody's like, how do I open a can of tuna? Like, I don't know. I have no idea, to be honest. I hope
This
it's
is
going to be great for us, but I have no idea.
No, this is very interesting. Like I was thinking the other day that if I saw Netflix, for example, I think they bought a gaming company, and
Mm,
with AI, you can truly now create different versions of content, right? So
mm,
for this person, you have this ending, for this other person. So the one thing that was interesting when I spoke with that scientist is there is the high optimization for individuals. Like I want to hyper personalize something for Wojtek,
mm,
but if it's only for Wojtek and there's no way for him to share with others, like there's
mm.
no
Oh yeah,
social component to share, like that's why movies are so popular, because it's like
exactly. Yeah.
everyone sees the same thing, everyone
Mm,
can then use the social part to comment, to say opinions. And if we hyper personalize, that goes away, and without, so we are social creatures, right? So
yeah.
not having the social aspect can be bad.
Oh,
So hyper is not, hyper
for sure.
personalization
I
is not
mean,
ideal. Yeah.
do you remember Game of Thrones? Do you
Yes,
remember how that
yes.
was like 10, 20 years ago? Or like literally everybody was watching the streets were empty, and everybody was just, oh my God, texting to each, oh my God, no fucking way. And it was like, and that was amazing. That was a great feeling. And that's part of the success of that show.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I kind of miss that. It hasn't happened since. I mean,
Maybe because it's too personalized now, and then
maybe, and
it's
I don't
kind
know.
of
I remember the last time I was so excited was, when the last trilogy, Star Wars trilogy came out, and everybody was pissed. Like, oh yeah, that was something. That was something socially everybody had in common most of the time. But after that, it became, I don't know, maybe Avengers Endgame was a big thing, and that hype for Marvel movies was really like that was building everybody up. But then that it faded,
It's an
and
industry
we're
now, just like
yeah,
build, yeah.
and we're still I'm waiting for something like that, for another
Yeah.
thing to get really psyched on. There are small things, but nothing as huge.
So I feel like the lesson learned here is that the storytelling is critical. Like no matter what you do, it has to have a soul. It has to be alive. Um, Another thing, my son, for example, he's 5 and he
Mm.
loves Star Wars, but he loves the old Star Wars. Like, and for
Oh, that's
him, he doesn't have
see, now that's
the
good
reference.
parenting.
He watches like the old ones, like so focused, like,
Yeah,
and he's 5, but he
yeah.
doesn't know the quality doesn't matter, like because the
Oh yeah,
story matters, right? The
yeah.
story matters. And I think we need to remember that AI can do a lot of the production work, but
Mm.
the storytelling, the creativity, I don't think it will
Yeah.
be there.
At least
Uh,
at least for a long while. Yeah.
Maybe the last question, or ask,
Mm.
can you share a message with creatives watching here that are scared with AI? They're concerned about what to do next, what to study now, like where this is going, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Any message, like encouraging messaging
Well, I
for
think
them?
I think I think welcome to the club is one of those messages. Another one would be, and again, it's walking the talk, and I get depressed every other month when there's a new video thing coming out, and I'm like, oh my God. Um, but I think you should kind of swim upriver, up the stream. I mean, don't pretend that AI is not there. At the very least, just play with it. Like, I know it can be overwhelming that there's like so many different AI tools to do. Don't worry about it. Just pick one. Just pick one and have fun. And at least when somebody asks you, you can be part of the conversation and not be saying like, "Ugh, I don't know," or "That's bad," and just be there. Like, I'm not a big AI user. I use a very specific things from AI. Right? I have friends who just sit nonstop on AI and create crazy videos, and they're like super psyched. I'm not. I'm waiting to be able to do a video that will be amazing, high quality. And because I can't do it now with the available tools, I'm just going to wait till that tool kind of appears. And so you can do that, and you can focus on uh, learning, like learning the arts, learning some of the history behind storytelling. Follow the great creatives of our time or our past time. Kind of see where it came from, especially if there's at least you have something to do. Like, if because what even if we end up with AI, the way AI, like we said, works is it remixes stuff that are before, right? So know what happened before. Like, when you're prompting, know the style of the vibe you're trying to get. Know the name of the artist from 200 years ago that you're trying to imitate, you think might fit that bill. Build yourself up, right? So that when something happens and you can actually take full control of AI, you actually know what to do, and you can make something great out of it.
That's amazing. That's very, very encouraging, and it's a good manual. Just do stuff, right? Just play with it. Just make sure you're not stuck
Yeah,
in fear, because everyone is like there's no clear path. Everyone is
yeah.
exploring. It's a huge opportunity. Wojtek, thank you so much for your time,
Thank
for
you
your
so much
insights.
again. It's been a
It was
pleasure.
really it was really, really good, and yeah, I hope to stay in touch. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah. So thanks again, and have a good weekend.
Awesome. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.
I
Take care.
created Pacto so you can get back quality time and do what matters most.
When you use Pacto, you eliminate the need to type out your feedback or waste time trying to find previous comments. Instead, you can record yourself instantly, mark up your content directly, and send a recording with clear action items so nothing gets lost in translation. Review videos, websites, images, 3D files, or audio files faster than any other tool out there.